Happy Black Friday, everybody. Before you spend any more money, we have some free best-selling science fiction and fantasy books for you for this weekend or for later. Welcome back to the MetaStellar YouTube channel, where we tell you about the best free books every single Friday. And you can subscribe to our channel or to our newsletter so that you don't miss any of these. I'm the editor here at MetaStellar. We're an online magazine of science fiction, fantasy, and horror. We publish short stories every week, and we just finished our fall submission cycle, so we're going to have a whole bunch more queued up. And yeah, you can read all of that for free on our website, links down below. And we also do these book reviews. So I'm the editor in chief, and with me is Emma. Hi, Emma.
Hi.
And she's dialing in from the UK. She's one of our editors. She does the writing advice of the week YouTube video and column, so you can check that out. That's also linked below. And she edited our last anthology, which you can buy, and I'll tell you more about that later. Anyway, the way it works is that we read the first few chapters of the top 5 books on top of Amazon's free sci-fi and fantasy bestseller list. Yes, they have a bestseller list just for free sci-fi and fantasy books. And then we tell you what we think about them. We don't read the whole book because there's no time. The books do not stay free for long. Publishers and authors make them free for a short period of time, usually to promote some of the books in a series or something else they've got going on. And then they stop being free soon afterwards. So if you hear about a book that you like, grab it quickly while it is still free. And let's get to the books. We're going to start out with book number 5 on today's list, and we're going to count down to book number 1. And book number 5 is Color Deficient by Andrew Kraft. Let me make that a little bit bigger for you guys so you can see it. Here it is. And this is a standalone novel of a near-term dystopian future. It's the author's first time on our list, and Terrence Smith read this for us. And Terrence and Regina Clark, who also did reading for us this week, could not be here. So Emma is going to tell you about what Terrence thought about the book.
Yeah, so he says that this book opens with us seeing a world through the eyes of a teenage girl, Greta. She's dealing with her overbearing, overly protective mother. Greta lives with a form of colorblindness, and that makes it difficult for her to see red and green. And it makes simple tasks such as picking out ripe fruit, it makes all of those types of things very difficult. But her experience will be needed though, because the whole world is going to begin inexplicably developing colorblindness. So all of a sudden, there's all these kinds of domino effects, like there are near miss runway crashes, incidents with traffic lights, things like that. And Terrence says the writing does a good job of demonstrating how Greta sees this world, like going on her grocery run with her mom. She explains to her mother in detail how she navigates these daily tasks. It does kind of sound a little bit unnatural, Terrence says here, but it seems like something Greta's mother would have probably known already. And it feels like this dialogue is more likely for the reader. But we also see the world through Zach. He is an airline pilot who is not present both physically and mentally in his family's life most of the time. He barely notices his wife updates about their children, and their behavior, including focusing on a story in the paper reporting on flights being at a record safety level, and then the strange cataclysm of airline pilots developing color blindness. Terrence says that with all that, he would like to see more about how this impacts his ability to fly, and more importantly, how it might help him out here. So if you're looking for something that gives you a whole new point of view, check this one out, or purchase a physical copy, because he loves talking about physical copies. He includes some links in the review. Strangely enough, reading this review, it doesn't seem like this has too much of a sci-fi element, other than it's just like pilots are suddenly unable to experience colorblindness. So this was interesting.
I guess global plague, and there's like dystopia in the title somewhere. So maybe maybe it gets worse.
Yeah, maybe, yeah.
Yeah. All right. There's always hope. Now we go on to something completely different, set in a completely different time period with completely different rules of the world. Oh, hold on. Let me make this book cover bigger for you so you can see it. This is Kingbreaker by Jocelyn Fox, and this seems to be a standalone novel related to the 7-book Norse themed fantasy series, The Fae War Chronicles. The other books are $5 to $7 each, but they're all in Kindle Unlimited. Kindle Unlimited is where you pay $12 a month and you read all the books you want. It's a good deal if you read a lot of books. And Emma read this for us. Emma, what'd you think of it?
So I'll preface this by saying that there are two things I absolutely love. One is epic fantasy, and the other is Norse mythology. And this story looks like it has a ton of both, so I was really excited to read this one. The book introduces Sayla. She is a warrior belonging to a remote village in the eastern tundra of this fantasy world. And her father is explaining to her that she won't be able to join him and the other warriors to fight this troll king, because no one under 30 is allowed to join. Additionally, the warriors of this village, and we get some backstory here, they are more or less spiritually tied to these giant wolves, so they're kind of like representative of like Norse mythology, mythological wolves here. And the members of the village are considered like a pack, and most are tied to the wolves in some way. It's a whole thing. And we get some backstory here, but it's more like instead of a little backstory, it's a lot. Because there's some information about like the various villages that have been taking part in a war against the trolls. We also learn that Sayla has a specific type of magic, and she's a specific type of warrior. And the magic's kind of like elemental magic. She must perform several different kinds of rituals a day. And also, before her father leaves, he says she must be prepared for the wolf their family is tied to give birth. So she's got to stick around for that. Her father leaves to fight, and Sayla finds herself near the communal fire in the village. And she meets her aunt there, and she begins to talk about stories of Sayla's mother, who died a long time ago, long before Sayla could really remember her, so she likes hearing stories about her mom. And the aunt mentions that Sayla's mother was once a powerful warrior like herself. Besides besting all the men that were competing for her hand, she also has a powerful vision that she would marry Sayla's father and birth Sayla. So we get all of that kind of backstory. Later that day, this is when the plot really starts to kick in. Sayla comes across a white hawk with an injured wing, and after touching it, her magic transports her into the body of the hawk, and she kind of like mentally flies back to where the hawk originally came from, where she meets the hawk's master. He watches him make a deal with another man. We don't really know who he is, but the other guy like slices his palm open and bleeds out, and then the master tells the hawk that it's her duty to find Sayla. So Sayla wakes up and she's bleeding in the snow. This is where I stop reading, but I'll start up by saying I really enjoyed the Norse influence in this. I could tell that the author had done her research and transferred that really well into fantasy. There was a lot of Norse elements in there. On the other hand, there was a lot of exposition and info dumping in the story, so I don't think I'll really continue with it. I don't know what the rest of the series is going to be like, but if you like long epic fantasy and Norse influence, I suggest that you check this book out.
I guess with your PhD program, you don't really have time to get into another involved epic fantasy.
Yeah, no, really.
All right, next for something completely different yet again. And let me make that bigger for you guys. Where's that button? Here we go. All right, this is Ruwen by Kate Rudolph and Star Huntress. Yes, that's the author's name. This is the first of 10 books in the Mated to the Alien Fated Mates sci-fi romance series. The other books are $5 each, and they are all in Kindle Unlimited. And I think that tells you literally everything you need to know about these books. But just in case you want to know a little bit more, Emma read the beginning of this book for us.
Yeah.
Emma, what do you think?
Okay, so every so often, Free Friday gets like one of those monsters or alien fated romance books. For some reason, they're always popular, and one of us has to read them. So this week I took the plunge, but it's mostly because I wanted to see how unhinged this book was going to get, okay? So it begins with a woman named Liz. She is a mercenary of some kind. It's explained that she's mostly catching like cheating husbands and stuff like that. But one day she's scooped up by a group of aliens, and she's tortured by a medical bot, she's locked in a cell, she's starved, the whole thing, it's the works. However, in a cruel twist of fate, the aliens who capture her drop her off on another alien planet that's safe for humans to live on. And they explain that, surprise, they kidnapped the wrong human, so she was tortured for nothing, and now she's stuck on a random planet and she has no idea what to do. So she spends days scavenging for food and shelter. She tries to communicate with the aliens on the planet, but they are very hostile as she doesn't speak the language. But she eventually finds this, what appears to be an abandoned building, and she breaks in. The book then switches perspectives to Rue from, like, the title on the cover, and he is an alien who also happens to be a mercenary. However, his job is to break into this building and access the control room. So he scans the building for life forms, he finds one, but he expects that he could just use a blaster and take care of it. So we get some backstory here about the kind of alien the Rue is. Turns out that his entire race has to deal with a curse. And it's basically the idea that, like, any member of his race who doesn't find a mate by 30 automatically dies. He is about to reach 30. He doesn't have much hope of finding someone. He's like, okay, I'm just gonna get paid for this job, one last job, and then I'm gonna, like, head out to this other planet, literally named Hedonia, and engage all, like, the hedonistic pleasures there, because that's basically all what the planet is for. And I'll just, like, live out the rest of my time there, and it'll be fine. But he gets into the building, and it turns out that the life form is none other than Liz, who has broken in because she was looking for food, and, oh boy, they lock eyes. And of course, Rue knows that it's his true mate. Okay, like, it's a fated romance. They're fated to be together, and they're clearly smitten with one another. And we all know how this goes. Like, this is where I stopped reading. I was like, okay, yeah, I know where this is going. So, to focus more on the writing rather than the genre, this book was straight up just telling rather than showing. Like, it was just telling a story. I didn't get to learn much about the characters, and there was absolutely no dialogue at all because it was just telling me what was happening. It'd be like, now this is what happened next, and then this happened, and then this happened. So, suffice it to say, like, either way, I wouldn't continue reading with this one. But, yeah, that's my review
I
for
guess
Another
the
Fated
reason
Romance.
again, oh, let's see. I guess the reason people would read this book would not be for the character development
Yeah,
or the writing style.
yeah.
After something else.
I was like, I'll just focus on that because I already know that this is not my cup of tea and this is not something I would typically read anyway, so it's just, it's fine. The way
It's
it
a good
goes.
looking cover though. Look at that alien. All right. Okay. Next we have something completely different with a very different, hopefully very different set of aliens. And let me make that a little bit bigger for you guys. And I keep losing this button here. There we go. This is Splice by ZZ Adams. And it's the first of 8 books in the a 0 Point Awakening, a sci-fi adventure series. The other books are $3 to $6 each, but they are all in Kindle Unlimited. And I mean, I grabbed this because, I mean, pay close attention to the cover. That looks like a guy in a spacesuit, right? Right? And this looks like an exploding spaceship, right? Right? And look at the font. That is the font of a space opera book. And I mean, the whole thing looks like one of those space battle adventure books, which I love. It's near the top of my all-time favorite genres. So I was pretty excited about this. I grabbed it before anybody else could take it. And I got into reading, and it was not what I expected. So the book opens in the year 1950 in Vietnam. There was a suspected UFO crash 3 days before, and Markham, a Reuters correspondent for the news agency Reuters, is in an ad hoc military camp. He's tied to a chair, and there's someone slapping him on the face. And did I ever tell you guys that I used to be a Reuters correspondent and I reported from war zones and I was taken prisoner a couple of times? But nobody ever slapped me. I was never physically attacked. Anyway, so Markham thinks his captors are softening him up for an interrogation later, and he suspects that the People's Army of Vietnam is gearing up to launch an attack. And he's left alone, and after the sun sets, he rocks in the chair until he falls over and the chair breaks. He unties himself, crawls through the mud to the tree line, smears mud on his face. He seems to be awfully good at this for a journalist. In my experience, journalists are not that good at this kind of thing. Anyway, now that he's in the woods, I would have thought he'd run away, but no, he does not run away because his captors confiscated an artifact from him when they took him prisoner and he wants it back. He crawls back to the camp, evades all the soldiers, finds the tent with his stuff, crawls in, and we find out that his belongings include an automatic suppressed pistol and a combat knife. And so I'm really starting to suspect that he's not a journalist. I would never carry weapons on an assignment. It's the quickest way to get killed. And it's not like the weapons are going to do you any good. What are you going to do? Take on a whole army? I mean, like, right? Anyway, he collects his weapons. He finds the metal case he'd come for, and it's too heavy to carry out on foot. If he actually wants to escape from this camp, he'll have to steal a vehicle. He opens the case, takes out the glowing metal sphere that's inside, puts it in his pocket, and starts to leave when a soldier bursts in. And Markham breaks the guy's neck. Okay, yeah. Journalists do not do that. It is against policy. Oh, it turns out his name isn't really Markham. That was his cover story. His real name is Hal. Oh, and his hands are now glowing. So he waits a minute. His hands stop glowing. He wonders what the hell is the artifact all about. Thinks it's some weird military thing. Worries for a second whether it's safe to have it out of its case and just in a pocket. And then stops worrying about it, crawls out of the tent, kills 2 more soldiers, steals the motorcycle, and heads for his extraction point where a helicopter will be waiting to take him home. So very exciting, very James Bondian. He's killing soldiers, probably teenage conscripts, without a qualm. We're not supposed to worry about it too much either. Common trope in this genre. I'm not going to worry about it either. Then we jump ahead a few decades to the modern day, maybe a little bit in the future. And there's a guy named Arthur, who's the world's first superhero and a celebrity, or a minor celebrity. His superpowers are that he can become nearly invisible and that he has eagle eye vision. So not really showy superpowers. And he got his superpowers through some kind of DNA editing thing that was part of some kind of game show that he participated in. And they're recruiting for more people. It's not really clear what's going on there. But we do find out that Arthur has just signed a sponsorship deal with a laxative company. And then he's at a party where he's offered a position doing public relations for a presidential candidate. And the job offer sounded a little suspicious to me. And something wonky is going on with the powers that he's got. Maybe she has. But he jumps at the opportunity to take this job. It's probably better than being a laxative spokesman. Then in the next chapter, we change points of view again. This time we're in the United Kingdom, Oxford, where a kid named Elliot is waiting for the dark. He drills into the outside wall of a turret and plants a small electronic device. Then he steps back into the shadows, makes himself very, very light, crawls down the outside of the wall, jumps down the last 12 feet. Then he makes himself normal weight again and walks away. He's 16 and he's thinking about trying to find a pub that won't care how old he is. But first he goes to the student union where he almost walks into a room where a gay and lesbian group is meeting. He actually touches the door handle, thinks about turning it, then chickens out and walks away. And one of the students from the meeting sees him, catches up with him, says they've noticed him coming by every week, trying to get up the courage to walk in. Maybe he can just come in and listen. He doesn't have to say anything, but he's still too much of a chicken. So he goes home to the apartment that he shares with a housemate. And in his room, he has a case with a glowing sphere inside. And so I kept reading for a couple more chapters. And there's a lot more stuff that happened here than what I summarized. So the chapters are written in a very deep, immersive way. You really feel these characters. You get a good sense of what it's like to be these guys. Very impressed. It's not the typical all action kind of sci-fi that I was expecting, especially not after the first chapter. They get a lot more thoughtful when we're in a present day or present-ish day. And no spaceships, no explosions. So I'm starting to think I misjudged what this book is about. Maybe it's a thriller of some kind and not a space opera. So I went back to double check the book's cover. Was that really a spacesuit and a spaceship exploding? It does look like it, right? And so then I read the book's description, and then I read the descriptions of the other books in this series. And from what I could tell, the descriptions are pretty short. From what I could tell, the books are all set on Earth, and the protagonists, this is Elliot and Arthur, are trying to save the Earth from an alien invasion and from an evil corporation. So cool premise, excellent writing, not quite what I was expecting. This is more of a book for Terrence than me, because Terrence is always complaining about evil corporations. But excellent read. I do have to say, you really get into it. For me, I don't like near future kind of books that are a little too realistic. I want my science fiction adventures to be much more cartoonish, much further away from Earth. I want them to be more escapist. I want a break from real life. I'm a journalist. I see way too much real life in like real life, and I don't want any more of it. So I'm not going to stick with it. But if this is your kind of thing, then definitely pick it up, especially because there's a lot of books in the series. And like I said, they're all in Kindle Unlimited. Okay, before we go on to one on today's list, I want to thank our Patreon supporters. So MetaStellar is run completely by volunteers. We've got nearly 100 volunteers right now, plus or minus, doing all the editing, the judging, the reviewing, the video production, all the million jobs that go into running a publication. And we pay for original fiction. In fact, we're currently talking about raising our rates. We'll tell you more about that later. We currently pay 8 cents a word for the original fiction, and we do not take AI stories. So, thanks to our supporters, we are able to publish original fiction by real humans. And we thank you guys so much. We would not be here without you. We love you, and you mean the world to us. And if you would like to join our Patreon supporters, the link is in the description box below. You can also join our channel. The money goes in the same place. And like I said, all of it goes to pay for original fiction. We don't use any of this donated money for salaries or overhead or anything else like that. Just to pay authors. And you can also buy our merch. All the money from that goes to pay our authors as well. And you can buy our anthologies. So, anthology number 4 was just published, and it's available from all the bookstores in both print and electronic form. Emma edited this for us, and there's a bunch of people worked at copy editing. It has like 50 stories in it. Emma can correct me if I'm wrong. And all the stories are also free on our website, so you don't have to pay to read them. They are available for free. Or you can support MetaStellar and get a great book that you can hold and read in paper form. And all the money is shared with the writers. And anything that is not shared with the writers goes to pay for future submission cycles. We have 3 other anthologies: Year 1, Year 2, Year 3, and Year 4. We also publish books. Gods and Monsters was published early this year and is on the Nebula Award reading list, which is amazing. So it doesn't mean it's a finalist. We won't find out until next year. But this book is awesome. It's thoughtful. It's deep. It's literary, but it's also exciting. And it's about what it means to be human. And it's urban fantasy and social commentary. It's just a fantastic, excellent book by an award-winning writer. So I expect her to be getting much more awards for this book. And the entire book is available for free on our website, so you don't have to buy it. But if you do buy it, the revenues are split between the author of the book and MetaStellar. And again, we used all the money to pay for original fiction. And we also have a month like this Humans Are Magic one by Nat Couture. She's our human artist. She does uh, a comic strip every week in MetaStellar, and you can see it on our website, or you can subscribe and get it in your email box. We also have mugs and t-shirts and other things, and everything's on sale today because of Free Friday. So that is pretty awesome. All right. And the last thing before we go on to book number one in today's list is that Emma is a book coach, and you can hire her to help you out. And I have books up on Amazon, but I'm like re-editing them and stuff, so don't buy them. Um, Also they're free, so you won't be buying them anyway. But yeah, wait for me to finish the edits. All right, let's go on to book number one on today's list. This is Lawless by Tarah Benner, the first of four books in the Lawless saga, a near future dystopian series. The other books are $5 each, and they are not in Kindle Unlimited. Regina Clark read this for us, but she's not here today, so Emma can tell us what Regina thought of this book.
Yeah, so she says that from the outset, the story centers in on Lark. She's a young female prisoner accused of murder. She's being transferred to the San Judas Correctional Community, and it's a private prison colony almost 50 miles north of Santa Fe in New Mexico. It isn't your normal kind of prison for women, and her feeling of relief is kind of intense at first, because the place operates not unlike a commune, and the inmates kind of work together to support each other. And there also are no walls or cells. So this is where she's been charged to live for the next 25 years. The one unexpected element, Regina says, is seeing a sign on a set of corporate buildings with the name Green Seed Global Research Division, and no one explains what this is or what it creates. But Lark doesn't like the feel of this place for long. Examination on entering the prison involves having a sensor inserted painfully beneath their skin, and then when she enters the actual women's yard, she encounters other inmates who steal her belongings and attack her. They are there for far lesser crimes than hers, and they generally work well together, but their violence as they engage with her is just kind of unnecessary, and it resonates with the overall dystopian plot. And meanwhile, there is nearby men's prison, there is Soren. He is the other main character. He's keen to watch what Lark does without her knowing, but then wants to make contact, so he begins sending her secret messages. It becomes easier because the guards are suddenly not on patrol all the time, according to Regina. So his intention is to escape and take her with him, for some reason. The next part of the story begins suddenly 5 years into the future. Lark is still in prison, and this is where Regina says she stopped reading this book because once the time shift occurs, it drives like the progress of the increasingly complex world she's in, and the role she ends up playing as a protector of under inmates, and the drastic impact of being in prison on her whole psychological development. But she says the question becomes, will Lark have the courage to escape with Soren, and where could they go? How could they survive? And she says the book is a good read, it's very believable. She's not a huge fan of dystopian fiction, but she was caught up in the character of Lark and her resilience and the willingness to forge into new territories. And she says it's a solid entry for people who enjoy the dramatic features of a dystopian vision.
It seems weird to skip ahead just as when you get to the interesting part.
Yeah.
Like they're about to escape, she's about to meet somebody interesting, she's being beaten up, and then it's 5 years later.
Yeah.
That is really odd. I would not be reading that either because of the whole dystopian thing. All right, so let me know what you think of this mic. It's supposed to be an improvement over my laptop mic and the camera's mic, but some people say they can't hear any difference, such as Emma. So let me know what you guys think, and let me know if you like any of these books, if you're going to pick any of them up. Don't forget to celebrate Black Friday with some merch and with some free books. All right, I hope you guys had a great Thanksgiving, and it's snowing here where I am today. I just missed Thanksgiving by this much. We could have had a white Thanksgiving, but we did not. And Emma, I will see you tomorrow, maybe at the Peach drop-in Zoom.
Yeah, hopefully. I'm
because
working on the writing advice stuff. I'm gonna send out another video on Sunday, so I gotta work on that.
all right, yeah, every Saturday at 10 a.m. Eastern time, we do a drop-in Zoom for our supporters where we hang out and chat, maybe do a little bit of writing, but usually we just chat. And we are in the process of organizing a Discord server for our supporters too. So lots of exciting stuff happening. Join our community. You can subscribe to the channel, which is free. You can join our channel, which costs a little bit of money. And you can join our Patreon, which also costs a little bit of money. You can subscribe to our newsletter, which is free. And whatever you do, we are very grateful for it. And we thank you very much. And we hope you enjoy the rest of this Black Friday weekend Cyber Monday thing. Thanks, everybody. We love you guys. Thanks, Emma, for coming. And we'll see you next time. Bye bye.